Eoin Darby, welcome to the live cost construction experience.
I don't.
Good. Eoin, you've got a wealth of experience, so just the reason we want to get you in, we follow what you do. You're an expert in your field. We seen that you just won over 60 millions worth of tenders on the behalf of building contractors. It's safe to say you know what you're doing in that field.
I would hope so at this point. Quantity surveying, I've been at that since 2008, really qualified in 2008. I actually went out to New Zealand for 4 years during the recession as well,
Right.
and set up my own business when I came back from New Zealand. And it's that sort of 60 million figure of the value of the tenders I've won to date is from September 2013, and that's freelance quantity surveying for builders. Everything from attic conversions right up to €2 and €3 million houses in Howth and Dalkey. And everything else in between, extensions, refurbs.
Bring me back. When did you qualify as a QS?
Yeah, so I actually didn't start as QS. I started in construction technology in Bolton Street,
Right.
2003. Yeah, it was kind of, knew I wanted to get into the field, but didn't really know what I wanted to do. Didn't even know what a QS was at that stage.
Yeah.
So the first 3 years in Bolton Street there, construction technology, good grounding for sort of a lot of the disciplines in the built environment. After that, we were kind of given the options. You know, some of the lads from college, they went straight out on site. Some guys went on to do health and safety, project management, and I think 11 or 12 of us went on to do QS part-time in Bolton Street. So
Right.
the beauty of the part-time was, we were in college, I think it was a day a week and 2 nights a week, and we had our day job 4 days a week. So we were getting experience and we were getting our qualification over those 2 years.
Sounds similar to the old apprentice model, is it?
Yeah, so something similar. It really paid off because I started off in a company called Mulcahy McDonough's. They put me through the 2 years of college there, and that's really where I learned the bones of measurement. The bill bashing, as we used to call it, just pure measurement at that stage, and it's stood to me since.
Is that construction technology course still going? Is it?
Yeah, I think it's moved into, it's now a 4-year degree. It was a diploma when we started, then it became an ordinary degree, and I'm pretty sure now it's an honours degree, and it's a 4-year construction management course in Bolton Street,
Which is massively BIM focused, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it's a lot of BIM. There's the health and safety element of it would be important, but construction technology, I suppose, would be a key factor in that course.
You touched on something there. You decided to head out to New Zealand, was it?
Yeah. So unfortunately, as everyone knows, things went downhill in very quickly, and I was unfortunately let go in 2008, and I managed to get a job with a builder, local guy, D&T Fork Construction. And they kept me on. I got about 9 months out of that before things really went sour in 2009. And I was looking further afield at that point. I looked at America, I looked at Canada, Australia. Australia was where a lot of people were going, like yourself.
Yeah, I was out there. Yeah.
And I had a friend from New Zealand. He had lived in Dublin, and I just rang him up one day and I said, "Is there any work in New Zealand?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm in Wellington. Sure, come over and give it a go. It seems to be busy here,
It was a mad time. I got, I'd say in some sense, lucky. So I went down in 2006, so I just qualified out of Bolton Street as well, actually, funny enough. And I decided, right, I'll go out and do a year, and then I'll come back, right? And I come back in 2007.
Yeah.
And when I come back, I was, what's going on?
Yeah.
What's going on here? I'm coming back to sell now. I want to, do me traveling, and I want to buy a house, and I want to work, and
Sure.
work my way up the construction ladder, so to speak. And similar to that, I felt the reason I say I was slightly lucky is when I hit the fan big time, I had some connections in Australia.
Sure.
I was able to literally pick up the phone and say, "Listen, I'm coming back." I think I only lasted about 3 or 4 months. So I came back thinking this is me, and then I said I'll go back to Australia for a year, ride it out for a year, and end up staying for 9.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it was very similar. I went out thinking, listen, I'll get the 1-year visa here, the working holiday visa. I'll give it 6 months. Things will have blown over by then. I'll be back in Ireland working again, get a bit of experience, and I was there 4 years. So
much difference in how they do things down there?
I mean, it's very similar to, I was with a PQS company over there, again, working for clients, mostly on commercial projects. very similar to the way things are done here. Slightly different measurement systems and contracts, obviously, but the basis for quantity surveying. We had a great reputation going out there as Irish QSs. The QS companies out there and the contractors out there. There's a real respect for our qualification out there. So we had our choice of jobs really. So it was 2 years with a company called Rawlinson's there. That's on the second, the third and fourth year I was out there. Brilliant company to work for. They actually wrote, they had the Bible of cost rates out there. They had the Rawlinson's book. Everyone in New Zealand knew it. It was kind of a guide for costs for every aspect of construction, from demolition to electrical. You just flick open the book. It was only a guide now, but it was certainly something that could help anyone looking at building costs. And they used to have something similar in the UK and the Spons book, but I don't know. It's there's definitely room for something like that here, I would imagine, as well.
Absolutely. It's similar to Australia. I have to be honest with you. You touched on something there that struck me, is the respect for our qualifications when you go away. I mean, I worked on a lot of jobs out in Australia, a lot of commercial jobs, and it always struck me that when you sit around the sort of senior level, management level, there was a lot of guys in their positions out there, and I think it stands to our qualifications. Yeah, it does travel well.
The running team as well, when I was out there, was it was work hard, play hard, and the Irish were they had a good name for just doing their job really well and just getting the job done on every aspect, and team working on teams, design teams, and that sort of thing. One thing I actually really loved about New Zealand, which was very interesting to see it, and it's not really done here at all, but one of the projects I was on in particular, it rings a bell with me, on one of the jobs in Wellington, every month we had the entire design team and the contractors. A Friday was chosen and everyone went for a bite to eat and a few drinks. And it just, everyone just sat down and chatted. We were off the job and everyone was just having a chat. You were getting to know the guys you were dealing with in these very formal meetings. And just the level of communication and I suppose it was just building up that rapport there. It made the project go so much smoother.
It seems to be gone. The Aussies were big on that one too. I'll have to throw that in there as well. They used to do a toolbox chat Friday afternoon, and toolbox chatting around beers. Where everyone would sit around and give the chippies a chance to sort of have a chat with the plumbers, and plumbers having a chat with the aircon guys. And I suppose when there's a fight for that ladder then on Monday morning, it wasn't that much of a scrap because I've already had a beer with these guys. You know what? I think, and there's a health safety gone mad in my eyes, and I think there has to be an element of, like you touched on it there, it does help a job when a few lads get together and have a beer and have a chat. And,
I mean, when you go into these kind of meetings, when you've got design teams, and on that particular job, it was one of the largest contractors in New Zealand. You're in a meeting with 15, 20 people, and it can be very adversarial at times, but that kind of took the edge off it, everyone kind of just got to know, just chatting to people, chatting about stuff that wasn't work related whatsoever, and it just really put a nice spin on it, and it's funny, looking back on it 4 or 5 years on now, that's something I remember the most. The project was a great success, but I do remember the people more so. I think, thinking about the Irish construction industry, it could certainly benefit from something like that. A bit more social aspect to it.
Needs it. I actually think it needs it. I really do. I just, I think there's just no harm. There's no harm just getting a few lads together, and they're high intensity places, sites. A lot of pressure. Everyone's trying to get it done. Arguments over bloody sockets and ladders, and it can be a tense place at times.
That's it.
It does sort of break the ice that little bit.
And ultimately, I find, running my own business for the last 6 years, really what business comes down to as well is it's personalities. It's how you engage with the people you're working with on design teams and the clients and that sort of thing. And most of my work is repeat work, and it's because I genuinely have an interest in say the builders of 25, 30 builders on my books, and I just get on really well with them all, and I'm interested to hear how their business is going, obviously, and a lot of them often tell me, they're telling me about their family or what holidays are going on and everything, and they're interested in my social side of things as well, and that really just, I think it's the pinnacle of a good business relationship as well.
Business is people.
That's it. Literally, sure.
I'm going to go back here for a second. So I actually kicked off this. I said that one of our 60 million worth of tenders on behalf of building contractors. So what would you say? I always think of business as a way of you've got to be solving a problem, right, to have a decent business. So what problems are these guys coming to you with? Is it the fact that they want the tender won, or is it the fact they're outsourcing it because this tendering is a pain? What would you say the number one problem you solve for a building contractor is?
I suppose it's a reassurance that the tender that you're putting in, you're firstly covered for all the costs that you're going to have on that project, and secondly, that you have some sort of a profit built into it. The days of tenders coming back on a one pager with just a figure down the end are long gone, and I suppose it's I'm plugging the QS here, but what I do when I price a tender, I'll give you a typical example. Recent project I priced, big one-off house, North County Dublin. There was a significant amount of drawings, both architectural, engineering, specification document, form a tender with some changes to the standard contracts and that sort of thing. There's a lot of stuff in there that could catch the builder out if they haven't fully read through it. And I suppose that's my job is to identify the risks. If it's a particularly tricky site access wise, or if it's in an area of just say it's in Holt or somewhere, that you could potentially come across rock. I need to identify all these areas prior to we actually submit our tender for that builder.
In terms of, let's say, this example you use, residential, is there a tipping point of value of job or revenue of company, or is there a metric there where you see builders sort of using a QS? Or
I think there's a lot of, if you look at the kind of the smaller value job, let's say less than 100k, there wouldn't be too many builders going down the QS route, because I can understand why, because it might justify the cost compared to the value of the job. And also if a guy's just doing, say, attic conversions and small extensions that don't require planning, and they're simple enough drawings and they've done loads of these before, they kind of know, they know roughly what the electrical's going to cost, what the plastering's going to cost. Those sort of limits. When you start getting 100k plus, you're generally getting an architect involved. There's a design, there's some, there might be some particular things like windows or a particular type of roof finish that's specifically on the drawings, and then all of a sudden you're into kind of, okay, I can go to a subcontractor and get pricing on this, but there might be 4 or 5 things I have to do there, and all of a sudden, the builders out, most of these guys at that sort of level, a lot of these guys, they're on the tools themselves, and they just don't have time for this. So,
what would you say? I'm not sure how much dealings you have with sell to 100k. Well, what would you say would be a number one mistake builders are making when they go into tender them jobs? Would you have sight of that?
I suppose I don't see that too much, because as I said, most of my jobs are kind of from 100 to 500 plus. But I suppose it is a fear of missing something that's in the tender documents. Just for example, if there was, you get PC sums for floor finishes and tiling, that sort of thing. They're usually straightforward and they're in the letter. But if there's something on a drawing, that's, say it's a soak pit and it's a certain size, and you just didn't happen to read it on the drawings, and you just kind of put in your normal price for drainage, all of a sudden you're on site going, well, we're not anywhere covered for this, and it becomes a problem. Exactly, it's, and I suppose when you get up to the higher level jobs, the builders turn around and say, okay, I'm going to outsource this pricing to a freelance QS, and I know that they're going to go through everything with a fine-tooth comb. They're going to measure everything, price everything, and for example, the tender I just sent out today, 63-page document with every element from demolitions to substructures, external walls, roofs, electrical, painting. And they can go back through that. It's in a PDF document, it's searchable on their phone, and they can see exactly what they have in for materials, labour, subcontractor.
What tip, if I was a let's say builder, I'm a builder and I'm going out to price a job, it's under 100k, give me one tip. One thing I should be looking out for.
I would say, it's what we use as QSs is the national building elements, and that makes sure we tick off everything. It's like a checklist for us. I would suppose to know what that is, the national building elements, the list of elements, and just go through them, each one, and just make sure you're covered off.
Yeah.
Have you got enough in for your block? Have you got enough? At that level, builders tend to do it trade by trade, but this could be like a cross check for you just to make sure that you've got everything ticked off in your price.
Yeah. So 100k plus, you reckon that's sort of a tipping point where people are starting to engage. What are you doing for them? What exactly? What service do you provide, and how do you go about it?
Yeah. So typical tender, I would just if it was one of my regular customers, I'd just get the tender pack forwarded to me by email.
Yeah.
Usually it's a series of PDFs. It's going to have the architectural drawings, the architectural specification, the engineer's drawings, sometimes mechanical and electrical service drawings, depending on tends to be on the higher value jobs, like 500k north.
Yeah.
Would have a services designer, because they're just far bigger systems that are required for heating, plumbing, electrical, AV, all that sort of stuff. And what I basically do then is I use a system called Qubit, which is from the BuildSoft family.
Yeah.
And you load in all those PDFs into Qubit, and you set the scale, and we measure everything on screen now. I mean, really, that's the way technology has gone. There are still.
I was just about to say, I think you might just jumped it on. Is the industry gone that way, or is there still all skill?
No, there is still plenty of QSs out there that are printing out drawings and using scale rulers. That's the way I learned, and I'm very familiar with that way. But from when I started out in my own business 6 years ago, I would be very, I just wanted to go full, as much technology as possible to save me as much time as possible and be as efficient as possible. So I straight away threw myself at that Qubit. It was a significant investment, and I did all the courses, the advanced level courses in it, just so that I could get up to speed with how this is going to help me best. So basically, I measure literally everything then on screen. That then spits out all the quantities for me, and then I price it based on current market rates.
And you're pulling them from your same database?
Combination of a database or job-specific pricing. So all builders will have their own building providers.
Yeah.
And I would tend to, in particular on the bigger jobs now, and jobs specifically, I would send out a list of, say, materials, say insulation, timber blocks. If it's a site, outside of Dublin, whatever, I'll get job-specific pricing.
Yeah.
And then at least I know that this is this builder provider, and these are his rates.
And they're providing you with a standardised trade rate?
Yes, I mean, it's all the big guys, they price, it's per sheet, or it's per bale of blocks or whatever. And that way, I know then at absolute minimum, I have the materials covered, and then I've got to add in the labour.
Yeah.
So the labour element is a bit more of the QS's prerogative, I suppose, and that's based on experience of over 10, 15 years of knowing.
How do you go with that one?
It's a combination of factors. You can work things out on hourly rates and make assumptions on how long a certain thing is going to take. But it could be, if it's a subcontractor, for example, block laying. You're going to talk to their block layer, or block layers' rates around the area, and you will use those rates accordingly. So, and then on top of all that, of course, there's no point in doing any of this unless there's a profit on both the material and the subcontractor or the labour. So it's kind of combining those three into a realistic rate that is going to be competitive but profitable, and also comparing that to just the overall job and the economies of scale. Like if you're doing a 25 square metre house extension, ground floor only, your blockwork rates aren't going to be the same as a one-off house with 400 square metres of blockwork, a 400 square metre house. So you've got to take all that into account, and you might be able to tighten up on some areas there.
How do you go about mitigating risk about pricing a job today? We kick off next year and we have massive fluctuation in price on material or labour for that matter. I mean, how do you go about it?
That is a big problem at the moment, and especially with the B word Brexit at the moment. I've been in situations with tenders there where this has come up in conversation. At the moment, with the builders providers in particular, there tends to be, over the last couple of years, the inflation comes in January.
Yeah.
The notification goes out and the price hike can be in January. I suppose looking at it overall, we're at, we're kind of back to 2000. If you look at the SCSI tender indices, we're at 2006 rates now at the moment, pre-crash construction rates. Okay, it's a national kind of average rate. And we're also running at 7% inflation year on year. So it has leveled off slightly according to the latest indices, but we're really at peak construction cost here again. And on top of that, in particular with the residential, there's a new the new NZ building regs are coming in, and they kick in the 1st of November. So any project that is applying for permission after the 1st of November, that is basically pushing up all the ventilation specs, insulation, renewable energy requirements. How
does that affect previously tendered projects then?
Once they've been applied for prior to the 1st of November, it's the old regs, the Partel regs.
Yeah.
After the 1st of November, it's going to basically all architects are going to have to include for these new regs, and it is only going to add cost.
Are they drastic changes?
Some of them are significant. I mean, with the BER ratings now, there's several ways to skin a cat on how you actually achieve the BER rating. It's a combination of factors, but it's undoubtedly, it's increasing the level of insulation, the air changes per hour on ventilation, all that sort of stuff. So it's another kind of, now look, don't get me wrong, it's going to create houses and get the standards up to, really, really high. NZ means nearly zero energy rated buildings. So, the running costs of these buildings ultimately will be far lower in the long term, but it's just at the initial stage of construction, you're into, it's like percentage wise, it's difficult to say on each job, but it's certainly going to push costs up.
Where would be where does that regulation kick in terms of residential buildings? So if I'm doing my own extension in my own place, should I be abiding to them?
Yeah, there's certain guidelines that the document. I think it's something like if you're doing more than 25% of the surface area of the building, you have to do up the rest of the house as well.
Okay.
Yeah, there's certain factors. I'm not fully au fait with it now.
Yeah.
But it's going to be significant down the line.
Okay. So if I'm a builder and I'm looking to engage a QS, right, what can I do better as the builder to work with you in order to achieve our goal? So what I'm getting at here is we end up in a dispute, we end up in a problem, we end up with a cost issue on a job, and it's point the finger. So if I'm looking to engage in your services, what could I be doing better in order to make sure that we don't end up in disputes or end up in problems as we kick this job off?
Yeah, I suppose it comes down to a consistency as well in your pricing. If you're working with particular architects and they get to know your document, I mean, I find the feedback I get from architects when I submit prices for builders is that they're very impressed with the level of detail we've gone to. It certainly goes to show you've put the time and the effort into pricing this job properly. And it's very interesting because there's a lot of builders that have come to me that have never really used a QS before, and they now are getting familiar with the way bills of quantities. They can be like double Dutch when you see it first. It's a big document. There's a lot of technical info, but as time goes on, they get to know the layout of what I mentioned prior, the national building elements. And one builder in particular, actually, he said to me there a while ago, it's like, I'm starting to actually understand why you do it this way now. And I'm finding it easier to find, when I need to know what we have in for plastering or whatever, I know where to look now. And it's like that on every job. I've done 6 or 7 jobs from now, so he knows exactly where to look for.
You're giving them a framework, essentially, aren't you?
Exactly.
Giving them a baseline to work with.
Not only that, in years to come, whether I'm still working for that builder or not, they're still going to have to talk in that sort of same terminology if there's a QS on the project from the client's point of view as well. So it's just better to have that sort of technical, elemental knowledge of,
Yeah.
of how your price is put together as well. You know?
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. So we're running out of time here. If people want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
Quickest way to get me is on darbyqs.ie.
DarbyQS.ie. Listen, thanks for coming in. Appreciate your time.
Thanks very much, Gary.
Always. Thank you.